Visit the WOCA website at www.woca.com.
The most trusted name in news, Fox News, every half hour, only on 96.3 FM, 1370 AM, The Source.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 25 minutes before 10 o'clock. You know, we have some bright spots in our community. One of those bright spots is pretty much anywhere Lee Schwartz goes. Lee Schwartz is down at the Belleview Public Library, and gosh, he contributes so much to our community and does it through the library. Today he has asked some guests to come into the studio to represent something pretty exciting that's happening down at the Bellevue Library. Suzanne Brown is here. She is a librarian down at the Bellevue Public Library. Bobbi Jordan is here. She is a Shakespeare teacher, a volunteer at the Bellevue Public Library, and the teacher of the Shakespeareans. We're going to learn about that. And Zach Hann is in the studio. He's a handsome young man and happens to be an actor. He's a volunteer at the Bellevue Public Library. He is an actor in the Shakespeareans. And there's also something here that says there's an event happening. I think it's on July 15th. Yes, there it is. It's called Who Really Wrote as Will Shakespeare, presented by Kennedy Center award-winning playwright, founding director of the Oxford Shakespeare Company, theater producer, and Stetson University instructor, Ron Song Destro. Wow, that's pretty impressive. And that's kind of troubling. You mean somebody else wrote? We're talking about the Shakespeareans event at the Bellevue Public Library that happens each Wednesday at 1 p.m. at the Bellevue Public Library. So Suzanne, Bobbi, and Zach, good morning to all three of you. Thank you for coming in.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So let's see, where do we start with this? Let me start with you, Suzanne. How long have you been doing this event? Is every Wednesday? When did it start?
It just started this summer.
Oh, just this summer.
We just had, week 4 last week?
Yes, we have 2 to go.
And what was the genesis of the idea? Was it Bobbi Jordan? Was she the genesis of the idea?
Yes.
Okay, so let me go to you, Bobbi. What happened? How long have you been teaching Shakespeare?
50 years.
Did Shakespeare write all of Shakespeare's stuff? The other guy we have later on in the month, he's going to question that, it sounds like.
I know he is. It will give us a chance to have a good debate about that. The Oxfordians really do believe that that Edward de Vere wrote those plays and that Shakespeare was just a front for him. But the other side of that are the people who believe that you can have a genius, just because a person's born poor.
Well, wouldn't the other guy be a genius too? The other
Well,
name?
he was. Yeah, the other guy is a genius.
Okay.
But their premise seems to me to be that because Shakespeare was born to ordinary parents in Stratford, a little tiny town in those days, that he could not have had the background to write the scope of the plays that he wrote.
Okay.
So that's the argument.
Okay, so now you've studied it though. Now let me tell you this: when we read, let's take a contemporary author like Stephen King, who has also published books under that other name, Richard Bachman. Was that
Yes.
the other name? I mean, everybody said, "Wait a minute, this sounds like Stephen King." So you kind of know. It's almost like listening to a singer. That sounds like, could you tell that by reading Shakespeare? Could you tell if it wasn't written by Shakespeare?
I have no idea how to answer that question because all we have are the words. All we have are the words on the page, and they're brilliant words. But I believe that, I was just saying out in the lobby, if there can be a family of 5 children and the middle kid's a genius. And any parent will tell you, well, I don't know what happened, but Harold's not like Jamie. And so I think to say that a common person could not be the genius behind those words, it deserves a good debate, and that's what Mr. Destro will offer us.
All right, so we'll let that. I don't want to occupy this whole show with that subject. But I have a question to ask you about Shakespeare in general. Why is he great? Is it because the stories are great, or because the language is so beautiful, the way he wrote?
The stories are not his. The plots come from many other plays written before him and many other stories written before him. He was the first person in Elizabethan England to give the common language a higher state of being. It is the words. You know it's the words. But it's also, he puts his finger on the human heart in a way that no other playwright of his time did. He makes you care about a human being. Now, you can read Christopher Marlowe, who unfortunately died after 2 great plays, and Marlowe made that step also, but nobody did it like William Shakespeare.
So how were the plays originally presented? What was the theater like?
The Globe, plays in that time, first of all, plays were worthless, okay? If you were a playwright, you sold your play for whatever pence to an acting company. It never belonged to you again. The acting company, if they wanted to publish it, had to register it with the stationer's registry, which was kind of like a copyright. Mm-hmm. But people didn't really care very much about that. Another printer could get a copy and print it.
Right. So there's really very little respect of intellectual property.
Which is why Shakespeare, very early on, he was hired as an actor. He wasn't hired as a playwright.
Oh, really?
And then pretty quickly saw the advantage was to become a member of the company and be one of the producers. So he was that too.
And did they make money the way we still make money with plays, just by selling tickets?
Yes, they did. James Burbage had what he called the penny public. That was a really extraordinary thing to do, to let people in for a penny, but it paid off big. So when you hear about the Globe Theater and people standing down right next to the stage, that's who those people were. He said, let's let the public in. Why should it just be for the rich?
Wow. Was it political in nature at all? Were his plays, or maybe was there one that stirred up the powers that be, so to speak?
You had to be really careful because Elizabeth was queen, and most of the plays had to be approved. Actually, they all had to be approved. There were certain, I guess, political things you could not talk about in those plays. So if you had to pass muster before the play went on the stage, that's why they played it safe.
This is a fascinating topic, and I never realized how fascinating it was.
It really is.
So let's talk to Zach. Zach Hanna, you're an actor. How long have you been an actor?
I got involved my sophomore year of high school.
Okay. And do you naturally find yourself attracted to the Shakespeare works?
Not really. I was kind of like terrified of it because, that whole language gap kind of scared me away. It was always like, I like Shakespeare and I like the idea of it and I appreciated him, but I was really terrified to get involved and close with any of that because just that gap.
Is there a character that you like more than the others? Is there a favorite character for you?
No,
No. Which ones have you played?
I've actually only played ones that we've sort of done at Shakespeareans.
Okay. Okay.
He's a great Hamlet.
Yeah.
So you're going to answer for him. That's good.
He really is.
That's good. You seem shy. I think.
Will you be featured in Much Ado About Nothing and Richard III?
That's kind of up to Bobbi. She picks from week to week.
The class runs like this. You come to the class. You don't have to have, you do not have to have read the play, because it's just an afternoon of fun. It really is. So I pick a scene from a play, and then that scene is read aloud. Then we watch 2 to 3 film versions of that, so that if you see Hamlet and Ophelia in a scene, and you arrive at a concept of what this should be, wow, then you watch Laurence Olivier do that scene. Then you watch Derek Jacobi do that scene. And so Zach, actually this is part Zach's idea to make this whole thing happen. We were just sitting around talking with Lee one day, And
you're a treasure. I mean, you're contributing. You're going to be humble about it, but I'm telling, right? Let me not ask you. Let me ask Suzanne. This is a treasure. This is an opportunity for us that we don't get very often in our community. This kind of somebody who has what Bobbi has to offer.
Or kind of knowledge to be offered for free, just a class. It's about an hour and a half every week. Like she said, we just concentrate on one act out of one play. And Shakespeare is intimidating to a lot of people, but Bobbi makes it where it's not.
So far, yeah, I'm getting it. We all studied Shakespeare in high school, but I'm telling you, I was like cross-eyed. I had no idea what we were talking about.
Reading it in an English class is not how Shakespeare needs to be experienced. It really, I mean, we call it the Shakespeareans. You need to, he didn't write it as a book. He wrote it as a play. So you need to hear it and see it acted. And Bobbi always brings different clips from different productions of the play.
Right.
So you can see how
Which is-
interpretations vary from actor to actor. And it's amazing. The same words can be so different.
And isn't that so wonderful? Now, just to age ourselves, we're 60. So when we were in high school, there was no way that you could just go to the store and rent a Shakespeare movie. You had to hope that there was one either on late night TV, because that's the only place it would be, or if you lived in a big city. I lived in New York. She lived in Milwaukee. So you would go, if you were trying to cheat, in other words. If your teacher wanted you to understand a Shakespeare story, you say, let's see if somebody's showing this movie. And sometimes you would find him in the city. But nowadays, you could just rent one or even download it, right?
Right.
So, and are they accurate? Are the movies usually pretty true to form? No, you're making a face. Not really.
No, because for modern audiences, they have to cut so much. There's a series by the BBC. I think they did 20 of the plays. And believe me, the Brits cut nothing.
Oh, so that's the best resource.
Yes. But be prepared to sit for a while.
Okay.
Kenneth Branagh's movie of Hamlet, I think, lasted almost 4 hours. It had a break in the middle where you could take care of all your
So do you
needs.
personally have a favorite story? A favorite play?
No. My favorite plays are on this list that we're doing this summer, really. We did Taming of the Shrew and Macbeth. We did A Midsummer Night's Dream. Last week we did Hamlet. We're going to do Much Ado About Nothing and then finish with a little bit about Richard III. We're cutting Richard short because we have this wonderful guest coming to do his speech.
Yeah, the Kennedy Center Honors. That's pretty cool
Impressive.
to have somebody like that.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like us to give you a little example of the words?
Yes.
We're just going to take, because we're going to read Much Ado About Nothing.
Can I just put you on hold just for a second? I know it's radio. We got to do a commercial. So we'll do a commercial. You guys get what? Do you have to put makeup on or something?
Yeah.
No. Okay. So we'll take a little break and we'll be right back. We're learning about Shakespeare, which is something I didn't do too well in school. Did you do well with this, Robin? I think you probably did.
Yeah, I liked
Robin was good at this. I liked Romeo and Juliet. I was kind of a, I like that. I was a romantic kind of a young man, right?
Yeah, I bet you were.
We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. For today, a mix of clouds and sun with a heavy thunderstorm or two around, especially during the afternoon hours. The high 88 to 92. A shower and thunderstorm this evening. Mostly cloudy overnight, though 71 to 75. Tomorrow, partly sunny with an afternoon thunderstorm, high 88 to 92. For Wednesday, sun mixing with clouds with a thunderstorm around, especially in the afternoon, the high 88 to 92. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Good credits, bad credits. It's none of our business because we're not an auto dealer. We're not a bank. We're not your mother. We're OcalaForSale.com. Marion County's marketplace for cars, trucks, and SUVs. We've got thousands of sellers standing by to take your call. No middleman. But hurry, don't walk, don't run. Just sit down and log on to OcalaForSale.com. Prices and inventory change daily. Offer does not include dealer upcharge. Undercutting, rust-proofing, factory surcharge, or delivery fee. See website for details.
Do you have areas that have started sagging or drooping? Is what you're looking at not quite the same as it was years ago? Are there enhancements you've been putting off? Is there serious damage you need fixed? Then call on us, Damage Control Services. When your roof is sagging and the drywall is drooping after a storm, or your home just needs some enhancements, from damage repairs to new construction, Damage Control Services is here to help.
12 minutes before 10 o'clock. Let's return. Suzanne Brown is here from the Belleview Public Library. She's the librarian down there. Bobbi Jordan is here. She has an unbelievable knowledge of Shakespeare. She's a Shakespearean teacher, a volunteer at the library. And Zach Hanna is here. He's an actor, also a volunteer at the library. And the Shakespeareans event at the Bellevue Public Library is each Wednesday for the next couple of Wednesdays anyway. So we're going to be treated now to a sample of what you guys do? Is that what you're going to do, Bobbi?
Yeah, it's very short.
Okay.
Let's assume that we're going to read Much Ado About Nothing, and the two major characters are Beatrice and Benedick. It's 10 years later in this relationship, and they're very witty and clever, and they just hit back and forth like tennis balls, this repartee of cleverness and wit, but it's surface. And so Shakespeare gives us one tiny little bit of a conversation to let us know that there was really a depth of love there 10 years ago. And we're seeing these two people 10 years later.
Oh.
And I'll just give you one example. Zach's going to read one line. Are you ready?
Okay. Come, lady, come. You have lost the heart of Signor Benedict.
And Beatrice replies, Indeed, my lord, he lent it me a while, and I gave him use for it, a double heart for his single one. Now that's problematic language, so if you come to this workshop, we'll talk about that.
Did that mean they had sex? I'm trying to read between
No. Well, who knows?
Well, she lent it.
Okay, this is that.
Okay.
But listen, you have picked up the important word, because the word is, I gave him use for it.
Yes.
You have to.
Yes, I heard that.
You have to know that use means usury.
Okay, same thing for me.
So he cost her double. It's like it was, he charged her interest in this. That's the concept of this, usury.
Okay.
And so she, in order to love him, she had to love him double hard. And that's why the partnership broke up, or the whatever they had. So she places the blame on him.
So wait, she was borrowing money from him?
No.
No, see, I'm confused.
Okay.
Are you confused?
It's
No.
okay. It's
No.
my job. He was using her love the way he would be using her if she had borrowed money from him.
Mm-hmm.
She had to pay whatever love he gave her. She had to pay it back with interest. That's what that means. Women
Friends with benefits.
women understand this.
Yeah.
What?
And so did Shakespeare. So anyway, her next line is, and she's still
Two lines and I don't get it.
And
No wonder I
she's-
was bad at this subject.
And she's still talking about her heart. She says, Mary, once before he won it of me with false dice. He was false. He must have cheated on her.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, your grace may
That doesn't
well
mean he
say
didn't
I
want her.
have lost
Just
it.
my 2 cents.
I know. If you come to class,
Okay, so
we'll have a wonderful time.
She was putting more into the relationship than he was.
Yeah.
is Zach old enough for this conversation?
But it's much nicer language.
I'm teasing. But so what?
But those are the complexities. Sometimes we'll run across a line like that, and we have to stop and take. We have to.
Well, how do you double give love? How do you double dip love? How do you do that?
I'm telling you, women understand this. We give
Well, help
so much
me
more.
understand it.
We give much more
Well, you look at the clock.
in a relationship than a guy does, almost 80% of the time. But we need to leave this and go back to
No wonder I'm
Shakespeare, don't we?
divorced. All right, so, but this is what was happening between. But 10 years earlier, she didn't think that way.
No.
Oh.
Anyway, the fun of the
Because-
play, doesn't
brand
center.
new.
Fun of the play is that their friends all know they still love each other desperately, and so they develop these little plots to help to bring them together. It has to be fun. It's a comedy.
Oh, it's a comedy.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of audience turnout for something like this, because both men and women seem to enjoy this.
Our audience has been growing. Now, we had poor weather last week, but the last couple of times we've averaged, I think, around 30 people coming, which is really great for a program like this, I
Oh,
think.
and why is the weather important? Is it outdoors?
No.
Okay.
But who wants
Oh,
to
just
go
people
out when
that
it's
don't want
just
to come out.
nasty and
The
stormy?
library is beautiful. We've been there for a few different events. I can't remember what we went there for now.
The garden party.
Oh yeah, we went to the garden
We were
party.
there,
And,
yeah. And then we went to the one play reading.
Oh, live
last
reading
year.
thing.
Did the
Yeah.
Blurt, Bellevue Library Unique
Blurt,
Readers
yeah.
Theater.
Oh, and we did an ice cream event too.
Yep.
Yeah.
You guys had some ice cream thing.
Well, Zach, what intrigues you most about Shakespeare and about having you come out to be so dedicated? Because this is part of your life.
Well, I think when it comes to like Shakespeare in specific, probably the most interesting thing is that even though the language is really off-putting a lot of the times, it's still relatable to some extent. Like, I'm kind of on the low end of the having life lived bits in comparison to everybody else in the room.
Yeah.
In other words, we're old.
That's right.
That was a very Shakespearean way of saying you guys are old.
Yeah, right.
But there are still some parts that, to some level, I kind of, understand through, like, just what I've been through.
Do you know what we've heard though, Zach? We've had many actors on the show, usually on the phone. The famous ones are on the phone, usually.
Yeah.
But here's something: they have all said that Shakespeare helped them become the contemporary actors that they are now, that there was something about Shakespeare. And in fact, one of them, I can't remember who said it, but he said, you know how a runner will train with weights on his ankles? Doing Shakespeare is like training with weights on your ankles for an actor, because you become a better actor because of doing Shakespeare. So I don't know, maybe Bobbi understands why that is, but...
Well, I mean, I would think that, like Bobbi said earlier, how these aren't his stories, these are all plots and things that have come from other places. But again, from there, like today, most of the plots that we have stemmed directly from him. And so it's a sense of, if you can do the original story, then you can really easily transfer that over to something that's more derivative, I guess.
You know what I remember learning in school, and maybe you guys can comment on this, that West Side Story was actually a rewrite of Romeo and Juliet. Yes? You agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Can you put your headsets on? Because we have a caller calling in, and you won't be able to hear the caller without the headsets. But before I go to the caller, make sure you can hear me. Can you hear me through your headsets? Yes? Everybody's headsets working? Okay. Good morning. Thank you for calling. You're on the air.
Morning, Larry. This is Pete.
Hi, Pete.
We have a great topic here, and one of the most interesting things about Shakespeare is his tremendous contribution to the English language. And if you'll indulge me, I'd like to tell my favorite Shakespeare joke. A fellow went to see his first Shakespeare play, and his friend asked him what he thought about it. And he said, well, all Shakespeare did was string a lot of familiar quotations together.
That's funny.
Anyway, thanks for the conversation. It's great.
Thank you. Yeah, it is great. And I guess if you want more of this, now how long is each one of the events on the Wednesdays? How long is...
Oh, it's about an hour and a half. Sometimes we run over a little bit, but hour and a half.
I bet people don't want it to end. I bet you they are so into this that they say, gosh, an hour and a half must go by quickly. And
sometimes we add a little bit.
You do?
I ran sonnets on them 2 weeks ago. Surprise.
What does that mean, you ran sonnets?
Well,
you read them?
Obviously, what we're offering doesn't talk about sonnets. Sonnets are difficult, but not if you... I mean, I chose two of the easiest ones, but I wanted them to see... All of a sudden, we had 10 minutes left, and I don't want to waste that. And so we ran over a little bit. Right. So I gave them 2 sonnets, and they had a wonderful time.
Can you give us a sonnet?
Oh, from memory, not right now.
Oh, not from memory. Okay. No. So did you teach this in universities?
Yes.
And where? Where did you come from?
I started my teaching career at the University of Maryland.
Really?
3 years, and then they were patting me on my head. I was their only little girl teacher. So I put everything in a U-Haul and went to California.
And you taught out there?
30 years.
Oh, wow. Where in California?
San Diego.
Really?
I also coached actors in Los Angeles and San Diego.
Really? Wow. So the statement from the movie actors who say that Shakespeare actually was a way to make their contemporary acting better. You agree with that?
I do agree with it, partly because to master the language, you must explore everything you can do with your voice. And that's diction and its resonance. And then you have to, as Zach said, move into the heart of Hamlet. That's not easy. It's not like being on Modern Family.
Well, it seems like when actors are labeled as Shakespearean actors, it's almost like saying Harvard graduate. It's right? It's almost like a label that if you can say you're a Shakespearean actor, like I don't know if Jim Carrey is, but let's just say he was, you would say, oh my gosh, you don't think of him as that. And somehow it gives him a different level of
gravitas.
Credibility.
What's the word?
Gravitas.
Gravitas. It's a word I don't know, but it sounds good. It's a gravitas. I like that. Once again, you've shown us that our libraries are really important. I know we have this controversial issue about the privatization, which we're all against, so tell the county commissioners to stay away.
Right.
We have a wonderful library program. Absolutely. Lee Schwartz is outstanding. Give him 10 stars if it's possible. He has brought so many great things to this community and shared them with Robin and I for this radio show, so it's always appreciated. Suzanne, you have another hit on your hands. Thank you for sharing it with us today.
Thanks for inviting
Suzanne
us today.
Brown. Bobbi Jordan, you are a gem in our community. I'm so glad that you, and I hope I get to see this one day. It's while I'm here at work. You got to have some of these on Saturdays. And Zach Hanna, you're going to go on to great things. I think this is going to contribute to you in a great way that you don't even see right now. So
I hope so.
Good luck in everything you're doing, and have a great summer. We'll be right back. This is The Source. Oh, do you have a website you want to tell us to go to, or is that just this big long one here? No?
It's probably just a big long one.
Just go to the Belleview Public Library. It's a gigantic website. All right, we'll be right back.
From the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. Now that voters in Greece have said no to new spending cuts for more bailout cash, the question is what the European Union will do.
Does it lend